Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Brawn Body Podcast. Joining me again is Atanas from Trimona Yogurts. As we mentioned in the Monday episode, he is the founder and chief yogurt officer of Trimona Yogurt, and they make Bulgarian style yogurt from grass-fed cow's milk. And their farms are now located in central Pennsylvania. They're using Amish style farms, Amish cows, pure A2 milk here going into the yogurt. They're really an amazing company doing some amazing things, really shaking up the world of yogurt, which is a food that, as we talked about earlier, very commonly consumed in Bulgaria, where Atanas is from. For more on Atanas and Trimona yogurt, you can find them at trimonafoods.com. And again, this is my personal favorite yogurt company. This is the stuff that I like to consume and I like to buy any chance I get because they're really miles and miles ahead of everyone else. So with that, Atanas, welcome back.
Thank you, Dan.
So
See you
today
again.
we're talking all about nutritional side of yogurt, superfoods, the microbiome, all these really key important topics that it seems like people just don't have a great grasp on. So when we talk about yogurt, I know a lot of people think to conventional yogurt. They think of Greek yogurt, they think of Icelandic or Turkish, or the list of pretty names, so to speak, with yogurt goes on and on and on. So I think we've already touched on what Bulgarian yogurt is and why it's different in the Monday episode. But just to reiterate it, why should people be going for Bulgarian yogurt instead of these other prettier sounding varieties, so to speak?
As I may have mentioned, Bulgarian yogurt is actually considered the mother of all yogurts.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people are just looking at me when I say that. Really? Yes, because the yogurt cultures that makes all yogurts around the globe is actually native to Bulgaria. It's found naturally in the Bulgarian nature. Let's say that the bark of the trees,
Mm-hmm.
in the air, in the soil, and hills too.
Yep. And
And
it's amazing how people, when they think of microbiology, I don't know if I told you this before, but I actually did microbiology research in the past. And when we think of microbiology, we don't think of where these things come from. Like we don't think of where the bacteria come from. We think of, oh yeah, it's a thing, it exists, it's good for me. We don't actually consider that someone out there discovered this by digging in the dirt, by taking samples off the trees, by going into places that, we're not always going to talk about because of how disgusting they can be to get samples to determine where these things are.
it's yeah, the history is very interesting. Well, we're not going to get into details because we don't have that much time.
Right.
But people can always go on the internet and just research for themselves. They'll find how the ancient Bulgarians riding on horses and carrying lambskin with milk. Eventually, the body temperature would help that milk to turn to a yogurt. Start setting because the bacteria wasn't there already, just because of the air or the environment. Or the other thing is, let me just tell you, this is very funny fact. I was vacationing in Bulgaria a couple of years ago, and so I wanted to experiment. So we have this house in the mountains, so I'm going for a hike and I see this anthill and I'm like, I'm gonna try to do something here. What I've read, that they say you can if you get a stick and hold it in that anthill and let the ants crawl on it for a few minutes, shake them off, put them in warm milk, you can make yogurt with it.
Really?
Because the Lactobacillus bulgaricus bacteria is there already. And that's all you have to do. Just transfer it from there to your, guess what? 7, maybe 8 hours later, I had yogurt.
Wow.
I'm telling you. It's
That's
just,
crazy.
I was warming. I was like, this is true. Period. I mean, there's other bacteria that are naturally there, like Streptococcus thermophilus. You need that to make this too, because they work in symbiosis. The Lactobacillus bulgaricus and Streptococcus thermophilus. But it happened, and I have a picture of that anthill and everything. I've been telling people, there's like, this is insane. I'm like, it's true.
You can't get much more fresh, and you can't get anything closer to what nature intended yogurt to be like than that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Geez, the way we're talking about this now, this makes me think the next Bear Grylls Man versus Wild kind of show. He's gonna make yogurt on TV. um, so with this too, again, we with the dairy, you're using the grass-fed cows. And when it comes to grass-fed cows, we're looking at a lot of benefits over the conventional dairy, the grain-fed dairy. So with that, we're thinking about higher omega-3 fatty acid content. We're thinking about higher micronutrient content, better bioavailability of the protein that's available. Are there any other key benefits to this approach as far as the yogurt goes and fermentation and all that sort of thing?
Yes, yeah. And grass-fed milk actually contains a lot more conjugated linoleic acid,
Hmm.
CLA, which is, we all know, there's a few studies that show that it might be a potential cancer fighter.
Hmm.
And I know it's even sold in pharmacies. So the other thing is, when it's grass-fed, you get a lot more beta carotene, because it's like, that's why you can see the milk is a little yellowish, and that's because of that. Just like with the eggs, when you
Hmm.
buy eggs, if you see that, if the yolk is dark yellow or orange, there's a pastured eggs, a pastured chicken you get the eggs from. So same with yogurt. um so I mean, and that's the natural habitat of the cow, the
Hmm.
pasture.
Yep.
Because you don't need to confine it, just feed it with grain and corn. I mean, you could do that, just a little portions here and there, but of course you got to be careful. They have to be non-GMO, organic, and all that. But most of the times, like in our case, cows are grazing like for 8 to 9 months,
Hmm.
and you get a great quality milk to make. And so the other thing is that certain breed cows that are good for pastures, like Jersey, that we use, you have a higher fat content. That's
Hmm.
another thing. So a lot more benefits in grass-fed milk than the so-called conventional. Or
Right. And for those on special kinds of diets, whether it's like a keto or a paleo, this kind of yogurt is a lot more friendly than most conventional yogurts that you're going to find. A lot of the yogurts are fat-free. At least that seems to be a trend I'm seeing. And to me, that always seemed kind of counterintuitive. It's like we're getting yogurt from whole milk, at least hopefully. So why are we taking the fat out of it here? One. And two, a lot of yogurts are adding fiber to their label. They're adding chicory root fiber amongst other forms and driving the fiber content of the yogurt really high. And I just kind of look at it kind of puzzled, like, why are we adding fiber to yogurt? This isn't what yogurt was meant to be, I don't think.
yeah, that's a little weird to me.
Hmm.
But you just mentioned people on different diets. We just had a very good video segment that was completely honest, and just as Dr. Eric Burke, that was the one that did it. He's a great keto advocate, and he did this video segment with our yogurt. Says, this is what I like, and I don't get a dime from this company, and this is 100% truth. I was watching with it, and I was like, wow, this is what he's doing for us. Just and he was talking about this, probably better described than me, of all the benefits of grass-fed yogurt and organic, and all these things that you don't have to add anything to it or remove something, just like the whey protein we've talked earlier. So that was great.
That is amazing. And I love to see that the yogurt that you and your company are producing is kind of gaining traction amongst people within the medical community, because as many people are well aware, we are currently living in the pandemic, COVID, all that sort of thing. And a lot of people are consuming yogurt because they want to improve gut health and digestion. And as we now know, your gut health, your microbiome health, plays a huge role in your immunity and your overall immune system health. There's some studies that showed 70 to 75% of your overall immunity comes from the gut. Hippocrates himself said all disease starts in the gut. So when we think about the microbiome, which is this kind of collection of the bacteria, good and bad, that live in your gut, this is very important and essential. And I don't think most people realize just how important it is, one, and two, how so many things that they're putting in their body are wrecking havoc and destroying this. And I mean, we've talked already about the amount of probiotics that your yogurt has and just how beneficial it can be.
Yeah, microbiome, we need to take care of it. We just need to balance it. And as you said, in the gastrointestinal tract, and mostly in the intestines. And I mean, eating foods like yogurt, what else do you need? But it needs to be consumed continuously. It's not like, oh, last week I ate yogurt. Am I good now? No. You have to keep adding it to your gut, and especially the lactobacilli species, because they could survive no longer than 24 hours. So you have to keep putting it in. And let me not sound like a salesman now. Oh, keep buying my yogurt. This is the truth. You can do the research for yourself, and see that this is actually, I'm working with a scientist from Holland now.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to read like 48 scientific studies before we write something about it together. She's very excited about it, and I am too, but overwhelmed reading and proving the role of lactobacilli. And I say lactobacilli because there's so many: Lactobacillus rhamnosus, acidophilus, bulgaricus. So each one has a different role to improve and to, the microbiome. Super important nowadays in pandemic days. I cannot stress this out enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely. You mentioned the immune system.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, actually, the probiotics, if you want me to touch on this now.
Go for it.
The probiotics actually perform 3 vital functions in order to protect us, protect human body. And they are actually, they take part of the defensive mechanism, which actually stops the toxic invaders.
Mm-hmm.
And such as viruses, bacteria, from entering inside, enriching the intestines. And also it acts like a firewall against the pathogenic and malfunctioning cells. And
Mm-hmm.
this is important to know. We already know the pathogenic, but the malfunctioning cells, because they could harm us. And then the third one is that they contribute to the proper food digestion. This we all know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to remember all these 3, and so you know why you're consuming food that contain live probiotics, good quality probiotics.
Agreed. And while you were talking, I was actually pulling up some of my notes from Dr. William Lee's research. For those who know, Dr. William Lee is a doctor at this little institution you might have heard of before called Harvard. And he founded this foundation called the Angiogenesis Foundation, which actually researches food for its medicinal properties and looks at the effect it has on, one, the immune system, and two, specifically, the angiogenesis process related to cancer and tumor cells. So if you didn't know, we all have tumorous cells growing inside of us. Essentially, cancer is unchecked and uncontrolled cell division. And the thing that keeps it from growing to an alarming level and becoming a disease as we know cancer is its ability to get blood supply and nutrients and everything it needs in order to grow and spread. So the microbiome is the centerpiece of all of this. And this is all covered in his book, Eat to Beat Disease. This is covered in all of his research articles. And if anyone's interested, I will gladly link you to those or put some in the show notes. But again, he advocates for natural, rich, unsweetened, full-fat yogurt. He says this is one of the best things you can consume. he talks about some of the different types of bacteria within your gut, such as Akkermansia, which Akkermansia bacteria is actually able to go around and it's one of your main immune system bacteria. And these bacteria can help kill things like cholera, which you might know as the cause of a plague hundreds of years ago, bad bacteria. There's other bacteria, one of the lactobacillus ones actually, he zoomed in on. And he said, not only will this boost the immune system, but studies show it can speed healing time. It's very good for your blood vessels. So cardiovascular disease is a big problem in America right now. This is something you can be eating to improve that. Hair quality. Yes, what you eat can literally improve your physical appearance. It's a huge tumor suppressor for both the gut and breast. And then he goes on to talk about other types of probiotics, and also how you can do what you talked about before with the seeding kind of approach to growing your own yogurt. So I just, when you mentioned that, my mind instantly flew back to all of that, and I wanted to bring that up because this isn't like, voodoo or black magic kind of stuff we're talking about here. This is the stuff that is in the scientific literature. This is in the journals. This is health as it's meant to be, for lack of a better term.
This is exactly what we should believe in scientific literature, but of course we have to be careful for biased, writers. And anyways, that's a different subject. But yes, science. This is what you mentioned, Harvard, and now I'm going to mention Harvard again, because one of the cultures that we use in our yogurt actually was studied in Harvard by Professor Andrew Onderdonk,
Mm-hmm.
and actually is now made from a company called Probiotic, with V, not with B.
Yep.
I know you wanted to talk about this.
Yes, I did.
So Probiotic is a company from, the owners are two young men like yourself, Harvard graduates. So they decided to actually research one Bulgarian strain, Lactobacillus bulgaricus, because there are many strains. They're probably over 800, but it depends which one you're going to choose. So that was studied in Harvard, and it proved that could diminish and even kill over 50, not 50, but 15 pathogens.
Mm-hmm.
And I have all the data, and I believe it's public too, so you can see where this is going. This is our old lab test with that. And that bacteria actually is isolated from a plant, snowdrop.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where this comes. It all happened in Bulgaria. So also there's a clinical studies, which this is what I go for, the clinical rather than
Right.
epidemiological studies, in women in Brigham Hospital in Boston, with I think 64, 65 women. So this bacteria actually really proved that it's working.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to throw this in the conversation.
Definitely. I think that's important to mention. And with that probiotic, that kind of takes us into the superfood line at Trimona,
Right.
because you're kind of reinventing what we know yogurt as is. A lot of people think yogurt, and we look at the label and we see artificial flavors, artificial colors, artificial sweeteners. It seems like almost every yogurt has sucralose. And you took a different approach to flavoring your yogurt. You said, you know what? Instead of putting in bad things into something that's supposed to be good, we're actually going to put in superfoods. So I think there was a couple that were common amongst all the flavors. You had monk fruit, lucuma, and maca root in all three, I think. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And I'm going to briefly mention about all three of them.
Yep.
So, but first, why are we making this yogurt? Because no matter what, even if we've convinced the whole world that plain yogurt, the way we make it, is super healthy for you, people just don't like the taste of plain yogurt, period. When I was a little boy in Bulgaria, I didn't like plain yogurt. I always had to put some honey or sugar in it. What did I know back then? Nothing. And my mom used to tell me, what kind of Bulgarian are you? You don't eat yogurt? So this is how strong that was. And just to mention while I'm talking about this, and then I'll go into the ingredients. Bulgaria actually about a century ago was taking the first place, the number of centenarians, 4 per every 1,000 out of 38 European countries. I don't know why Dr. Walter Longo doesn't talk about this. He's the one that talks about longevity diet, but he mentioned Italians. Of course, he's Italian. You know, the Okinawans and the Loma Linda, California, and then the Ecuadorians, I think. Nothing about Bulgarians. But the Russian scientist Ilya Mechnikov did, and that's why he got the Nobel Prize. Sorry, I had to make this note.
No, you're good. I love it.
So going back to why we made this yogurt 2.0. First, to put some different taste to it, different than plain. A lot of people like it plain as it is. You don't have to add anything. I love it, but some people do. So I was thinking, being a health freak, I'm like, we gotta put something here that is good. I don't want to. I don't want this yogurt to be the next BSPV. I call it. Nobody knows what this means. B, blueberry, S, strawberry, P, peach, and V, vanilla. Right? So this is what we all know: blueberry, strawberry, peach, vanilla. I'm like, no, we're not going to be the next one. There's plenty out there. Whoever likes them, get them. How much sugar they have in them, I don't know. So we're going to use a sweetener, and among all the sweeteners available out there, such as stevia, erythritol, xylitol, monk fruit. There's another one now, allulose, which we may use in the near future. We picked the monk fruit. Why? Because monk fruit, actually, what monk fruit is, from the fruit that looks like a green melon, the fructose is removed. That's the worst sugar. Fructose is removed, but another chemical compound is left, which is called mogroside. And this is what gives the sweeteners. And you probably have read on the internet, I was like, oh, the stevia is like 300 times, stronger than the sugar, but it does the job without triggering the, insulin spikes. So this is what mogroside does, but that's the best that you could use. And now it's getting more and more available. Whoever wants to sweeten something up, just get, liquid monk fruit or whatever. So we get a very high quality and very expensive, I have to tell you. We don't have to put much. So you got to think about the price on the shelf in the store. But it does the job. It's just like you put a very little, no aftertaste, nothing. So, and I was like, we didn't put sugar. Nice. I love it. The other ingredient is like probably 40% of it that we put to the yogurt is maca.
Yep.
Maca root powder. This Peruvian wonder plant. And it's a adaptogen. It's a stress reliever. And this is all I want to say to that. Maybe I'll mention that it increases the libido too, whoever wants to. So
it definitely has a lot of benefits, and it's seen in a lot of different products for a lot of different reasons, hence the reason it's called a superfood. But a lot of people do take maca root for libido. So if you needed an extra reason to try Trimona yogurt, here you go, right?
We're here for you. So so that's one good thing about maca. And I love the taste of maca. It's just, oh boy. And there's another thing about maca. There's raw maca and there's gelatinized maca. I prefer the gelatinized, but this is just my preference because the starch is removed already. And the ones that look for the intake of carbohydrates, that may be better for them. But I don't think there's something wrong, having it there. It depends how much is it. But just wanted to mention that because if you go to the store and you wonder what to buy, one says raw, the other one's gelatinized. You do your research and buy whatever you want to buy. What else do we have in there? Maca root. So monk fruit is the other hot thing, and what I mentioned about. And
the lucuma, I think.
The lucuma, yeah, that's an interesting thing. It's just it's sort of a sweetener, but I've tried it, just lucuma and now yogurt, mix them up. I didn't taste anything sweet. I mean, maybe change it a little bit. We're not putting it in there because of that, but because it has some iron and
Hmm.
zinc. Zinc is a hot word these days, right?
Yep.
So everyone's looking for something, that has zinc in it. Vitamin B3, and also it has some calcium, even we don't need it because there's plenty in the yogurt. It
Hmm.
just needs to be absorbed properly. Um, and it has low glycemic index, if that matters to some people. I would, I watch that, but also the glycemic load as to me is more important indicator. So that's what lucuma is.
Right. And these three ingredients are in all three flavors of the superfood yogurt. You've
Yeah,
got the Protect, you have the Refresh, and you have the
revive.
Revive. So, kind of going through those, Refresh, also, in addition to those three, it has the matcha, it has the spinulia, and I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of this, but chlorella.
No, you didn't.
Well,
Chlorella, spirulina. Yeah, they're algae, and they've known for being for having a detoxifying properties, and we wanted to call this flavor, this product, first detox,
mhm,
but we were advised that we cannot do that because it really has to be proven that it does a detoxification that it's meant to be for, and we don't have any research studies for that. We can't claim it, we can't prove it, and you don't want to mess with that. We know it helps, so that's enough for us. Maybe that's not the only thing that you have to take is the detoxification, but it's a good start or it's just a good addition.
mhm.
So that's the main role of and the matcha, and everyone that likes matcha latte from Starbucks loves our refresh flavor. Says, "Oh, I love it," and you can really taste the matcha. And the other things that they do is that they bind to heavy metals, at least
Mhm.
help with that. And if it has these properties, why not? Why not have it instead of some sugar laden, yogurt or whatever it is? So that's
Exactly.
why we created it that way. That's the refresh. And do you want to know about the revive?
Uh,
Uh,
Revive and Protect, if you got the time for it. Protect is actually my personal favorite.
yes.
I love the taste of the beets, that kind of beetroot kind of feel to it, and the acai. So again, that's my personal favorite. But I know it's also got camu camu and aronia in it as well. So maybe you could kind of shed a little light on that too.
Yeah, most of them are like antioxidants, and um, they help with immune boosting. I mean, I know that sounds very common, common that I just made, but it is. I don't want to get into details because all they have is like some different flavonoids um, and other components that helped overall. So camel berry is a weird thing. I just before we started using it, I never heard about it, and I should be ashamed because I'm a agricultural tropical engineer, right? But I didn't know about it. So, but when I found out, that's one of the plants that's the highest on, vitamin C. You probably heard that many times, isn't it? The oranges, isn't the lemon, isn't it the acerola berry? But this is, and it's proven.
Hmm.
So that's one thing. The aronia is very interesting as well. It's a heart healthy, antioxidant as well. Um, Beetroot, it's a good source of iron and folate as well. It's an antioxidant, and it has a lot of phytonutrients.
And
Yeah.
I love its nitric oxide producing properties as
Oh
well,
yeah,
because
yeah,
it is a very potent vasodilator. And if you're someone who likes to go to the gym or do any kind of fitness, this will not only improve your performance, but it will kind of give you that really cool, pumped up kind of look that everyone seems to be chasing these days. So it's awesome that you can get that sort of effect from the food you eat and not just the, sketchy, vitamin,
supplements.
whatever supplements and all these crazy powders with like excessive amounts of caffeine people are putting in their body. That topic for another time, but I've always been kind of confused by these pre-workout formulas. because we're putting in a bunch of products that vasodilate and expand the vessels, but we're also putting in caffeine, which is a potent vasoconstrictor. So you kind of get this start-stop signal sent to your blood vessels, and it just doesn't make sense, especially when you can go to the source and eat something that has beetroot in it and get the same effect.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned exercise, I remember to tell you about that. We were working with the national rowing team and supplying with some of our yogurts there. And what I learned actually from this scientific literature is when you eat yogurt, this is they say one of the best, food or snacks after workouts. And why is that? But you don't have to strain it. You have to have the two proteins, the whey protein. Because I know a lot of athletes buy whey protein powder, mix it up with things and then eat it. I don't know. But I would rather have it naturally in the product like yogurt for us.
Right.
Casein. So the two major protein, whey protein and casein. So whey protein acts very, very fast. So you're done with the exercise, you eat, say, a small cup of yogurt, and then the whey protein, because of the amino acids are bioavailable, they're like immediately available in 15 minutes or so. They're already in your bloodstream. So you're fresh with that. On the other hand, the casein, it's a very slowly releasing amino acids in the bloodstream and for hours, and it promotes satiety. So that's why you have to have two in combination. You don't get rid of one and the other. So this way you can, you refresh your probably exhausted body from the workout.
Right. And not to mention all the other micronutrients that are in the yogurt that you have here, not just the fats, but the vitamins, the minerals, the different antioxidants and components of each. This is going to do wonders for your recovery because it literally cuts inflammation, which is occurring at the muscles after exercise, right at the source. And it really shuts that down. And looking at your ingredient list for Revive, that kind of sounds like that was the goal there with turmeric and cinnamon, as well as the black pepper and mesquite as well. It seems like something that, to me anyways, outsider looking in, that goes for an anti-inflammatory kind of effect and just restores and revives your health.
Exactly. That's what actually turmeric does, and why we use the black pepper. Your listeners probably know, but black pepper helps with absorption of turmeric. And that's why, it sounds weird. Why would you put black pepper? But yes, that's what it's doing. And I'm not just saying that. Somebody has studied this. So that's why. Then the ginger. Oh my God! And it gives a great taste. And that used to be my favorite. First. Now, you know what my favorite is? All of them. And I'm addicted. I was thinking that working for 2 hours to create all this, 2 hours, 2 years to create all these flavors back and forth, because it's not easy to make yogurt that's going to set and it's going to have nice and firm body. When adding something to it, it's this, biological, process, microbiological, would rather say, in there that it just interferes with setting, the coagulum of the protein. So, but finally we did it. And as you can tell, it's nice and firm, you can scoop it out. And, so yeah, it was very hard to make it, but, adding all this stuff, but in the end, good. So good.
It is. And, that just shows the power of persistence right there. You not only saw that there was a huge void in the market, but you did everything you could to make sure that your own attempt to fill that void was successful. And
another ingredient I have to mention, the cinnamon.
Yep.
Cinnamon is very interesting spice, and it mimics insulin. Actually activates its receptors. So you eat cinnamon and your body thinks, without the performance or a participation rather of the insulin, you can do wonders. So that's why we put the cinnamon in it, and it tastes good too. Whoever likes cinnamon.
It does. It adds a nice little hint to the yogurt there, and kind of gives it kind of an unmatched kind of flavor, because I can't tell you any other yogurt I've ever had that has cinnamon in it. It's very unique.
Yeah. Apple cinnamon, maybe. I don't know. And we source all the ingredients from mostly from South America, Japan, Europe. That's as far as I remember. That's where we get them from, and they're all non-GMO verified. That's important word, verified. If you read labels, whatever food is, if it doesn't have the word verified, it may not be non-GMO. It has to be, because you go through a very complicated procedure to get this verified. I don't want to talk about it. I was interrogated for 8 months. And there was checks, there was this documentation, check on the spot, everything. So, and so yeah, and then it's certified organic and all that. We want to get the best for us. I mean, we feed ourselves, our children, and everyone. So it has to be good, not just a moneymaker thing.
Right. It has to better the individual health. And while most food companies, from a consumer standpoint, it seems are out for profit and offering flavor, you're not only doing both of those things, but you're putting the consumer first.
Yeah, I did. I have to be honest. I never thought I was going to be in this business. I mean, agronomist, musician, and what else have I done? I never thought about this. I'm going to get into business, but I got it. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. So that's why I plugged in nutrition and good health and stuff. Because most of these companies, and they'll admit it, they're there for the profits. They started it because, my story is one of those like Italian grandmas that stir the tomato sauce in their kitchen. Next thing you know, it's a famous brand on the market. This is what I did, but with yogurt. I was making it 3-4 times a month, in the jars, and then blankets and all that. But now this is where we are. So people just have to really, I hope they believe in that. And we have a lot of testimonials, but we never post them on a website because we think they're going to sound fake. I know they're real. People feeding their dogs. I have like 15 videos of people feeding their dog would die for DAO yogurt. And also treating their microbiome as well, and all kind of, digestive issues. And I know it, but all I can do is just share it. And that's how I can prove it. Nobody has studied anything.
Ultimately, I think word of mouth comes to the best. And, like I said, we've got hundreds of people listening to these episodes now. And if you're listening and you trust me, then I'm telling you, go out or go to the Trimona Foods website, go to the little store locator and find out where you can buy it, and go there and buy some, because you're not going to regret it. And I think you yourself are a living embodiment, so to speak, of everything this yogurt and the company stands for. Is with better health, you have the freedom to do pretty much anything you want. That's what our personal kind of training, health and fitness philosophy is. And that seems to be what you have going for yourself as well. Not only are you an entrepreneur, not only are you successful in the business world, but you also study a lot about nutrition. You are very well versed in the realm of music, and the list goes on and on and on. You kind of have that jack of all trades and master of many kind of vibe to yourself.
Well, Dan, I thank you. Thank you very much. And your listeners too. And we need an army of ambassadors out there to spread the word. And I'm here and I'm willing to answer any questions you have on that, not just yogurt related, anything nutrition. I'm ready. Thank you.
Yep. So with that, are there any kind of final closing notes or anything else that you want to mention today?
Again, I'm going to actually repeat myself. Just whatever you make a decision in your lifestyle as far as nutrition is concerned, do your research. Do your research and see what fits you, your diet, your lifestyle, because it's very controversial out there. Different diets, different ages, there's so much stress and sleep, even more important than any diet. I mean, there's a lot that we have to know before we make a decision, and just make sure you reach out to the right source to get your information. Experiment with yourself. Don't be afraid.
Agreed. I could not echo that more. Go out there and see what works for you. Maybe you eat something and your body feels great afterwards. Maybe you eat something and you feel awful afterwards. Use that information as your own kind of self-study and feedback to say, okay, I need to eat more of this, I need to eat less of this, and kind of fine-tune your own nutritional approach from there. So with that, that's going to do it for today's episode of the Brawn Body Podcast. Atanas, thank you so much again for your time and for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Dan. See you again.